Let's bring into the conversation now again Chris Uhlmann. He's 7:30's presenter and political editor. He joins us from Sydney, and Lyndal Curtis, ABC News 24's political editor from Canberra. Good morning again to you both. Chris, if I could start with you again this morning, what are we expecting Kevin Rudd to say?
Well, I'd be very disappointed, Michael, if he announces straight after getting off this flight that he's going to be contesting, because that would rob us of some of the theatre that we know that Kevin Rudd is capable of. I'd like to see this like some kind of medieval Corpus Christi procession over the next couple of days as Kevin arrives at the airport and tells it all. He's heartened so far by what he's heard from the Australian people, but hasn't been able to communicate much over the last little while. He's going to be talking to his colleagues, and he leaves there and wanders through his electorate in other parts of Queensland over the next few days while he's mobbed by all and sundry to help hammer home to the electorate and to particularly caucus that he is the only person that, as in his own words, can save the Labor Party and save Australia. And then by about 2 or 3 o'clock on Sunday announce that there's enough support there for him to be able to carry this forward into the ballot on Monday. I would think that that would be the sort of theatre that the Australian people deserve and what we've had in the past, and I hope that we're not robbed of that by some kind of early announcement, Michael.
But it appears things are, sadly for you, Chris, looking that way this morning.
Not quite so sure about that, Michael. He may or may not announce. He may say he's going to take a little bit more time to do it, but I think in the end, of course, he will say that he's going to take up the gauntlet that's been thrown down by the Prime Minister and challenge on Monday. Now, the timing of that announcement could be now, could be a little bit later on the weekend, but as I say, I think that there would be something in extending it for a little while, a little bit more drama.
So, Chris, how deliberate are these tactics then? He held a press conference just before leaving Washington. He'll hold a press conference as soon as he touches down in Australia. If he doesn't, in fact, make that announcement this morning, what's he likely to talk about?
Well, he would talk about the fact that he believes that it's a contest that is absolutely necessary. That it's one that he believes that he may not win, but certainly that he'll give it his best shot. I think that the messages will be much the same as we heard, I think, at 2 press conferences in the United States on the way back to Australia, and he may well come, as I say, straight off the plane and announce that he's going to pick up the gauntlet, but he may leave it a little while longer yet. I can't possibly know, but I think that he may take the second opportunity, but wouldn't be surprised by the first.
Lyndal Curtis, could it be conceivable if Kevin Rudd getting news on his BlackBerry as he clears customs this morning that his support is lower than he was expecting or hoped, that he could pull off any challenge?
Well, it may be. I do expect that he will announce, if not today, at some stage, that he will be running, particularly because ministers, Cabinet Minister Martin Ferguson, have now come out and supported him. That's upped the pressure on him to, in fact, take the decision to run in the ballot, to throw his hat into the ring. We've done our own ring around. We've been ringing MPs over the last couple of days to try and gauge the level of support for both the Prime Minister and Kevin Rudd. There are a few MPs we haven't been able to get to or who haven't wanted to say, but we have Julia Gillard's support just a tick below 60 at the moment, and Kevin Rudd's support I think in the mid to high 20s. So we haven't yet got him to 30. As I said, there are a number of MPs we haven't managed to get in contact with yet, or some who won't say how they'll vote, but certainly at this stage, on our check of the caucus, and I have to say we aren't the professional numbers men that exist within political parties, but at this stage you'd have to think Kevin Rudd may get at maybe the most in the low 30s.
Lyndal, how likely is it that MPs will change their support over the course of the weekend as this story develops?
Anything's likely. Anything is possible in these days in politics. It is highly unpredictable. A vote coming up focuses the mind of MPs. It does seem that quite a lot have made up their mind, but as they see, and both sides are staging this for all it's worth. They're rolling out their own people to the best effect, to get them in the morning media cycles, to get their faces up on television news. So both sides are staging it, and it may well be, as Chris says, that Kevin Rudd, who has sought to harness people power in this because he is more popular outside the caucus than he is inside, that he may seek to harness that over the next couple of days, as Chris said, and whether that changes minds, whether MPs believe that he has the public support, whether that changes minds, I guess we'll see on Monday.
Chris, what do you make of the line being put about this morning by some of Rudd's supporters that he won't sack anybody, any of his detractors, if he does confound everybody and win that ballot on Monday?
Well, Michael, if he sacked all of his detractors at the moment, it would be like World Series cricket back in the 1970s. You'd be playing the Australian seaside in cabinet, wouldn't you?
Yeah. So you think that's just a part of his a pitch to pull the waverers on side?
Oh, look, absolutely. I think that part of his pitch is too that he's not going to behave in the way that others are behaving. And of course, he's a very, very good politician. The Prime Minister has said he's a great campaigner. He absolutely is a great campaigner, and we are in the middle of a campaign at the moment. And you would have to say on some fronts, Kevin Rudd is out campaigning the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister's pulled out her big guns in a message to caucus, which is, if we don't win this ballot conclusively on Monday, then this doesn't end. So what she's trying to show is that there are a whole host of people inside Cabinet who will not work with Kevin Rudd because they're incapable of working with Kevin Rudd and they do not believe that he has changed. So this is an attempt by the senior part of the Labor Party to bludgeon the junior part into line. I will say, though, there's some interesting absences from this debate, Michael. There's a large Anthony Albanese-sized hole in the universe at the moment. We haven't heard from him, and I would be very interested to see where he stands in all of this. He is marked down, of course, in the Gillard camp. He didn't precipitate any of this. The thing you can say about Anthony Albanese, he's consistent. The first time around, publicly and privately, he supported the Prime Minister. This time around, he has publicly supported the Prime Minister. But given a choice for him and others in caucus on Monday, when they think, OK, it's a secret ballot, no matter what we've said in public, now is a time for us to make a decision, numbers could shift. I don't expect that Kevin Rudd will win, but I don't think that anyone can guess what the actual numbers will be in the end.
Chris Uhlmann and Lyndal Curtis, if we can just leave you there for the moment, but keep you. We just want to go back to Brisbane and show you the room where the press conference is scheduled to be held, and we expect Kevin Rudd to come through and hold that press conference. It obviously looks as though things are getting very close. Microphones are being turned on, tape recorders are being turned on, so we'll bring you that. Cameras poised. Journalists at the ready, questions they're armed with.
Like what could have been a minder there putting his own dictaphone on the dais, so things could be very close indeed. Of course, we'll bring those comments to you from the former Foreign Minister when they do happen.